Now, I'd love your calls on this. Do you have doubts over the conviction of Lucy Letby? 0207 862 2222. Let us know what you think. This was big news yesterday. A panel of 14 medical experts, led by that gentleman, Dr Shoo Lee, along with Letby's lawyers, have outlined what they claim is significant new evidence, and they want her case reviewed. Just let me have a look at some of what's going on here with you, if I can, because obviously the way the court case ended was like this. So she's calculating, cunning and cruel. She's a poison nurse who killed 7 babies, malevolent, all the chances to stop her, tried to kill another 7. There she is, Lucy Letby. And we were all left, as she was jailed for the whole of the rest of her life, thinking this woman is pure evil. And now we have a question whether she is evil or innocent. And it's extraordinary to be asked that. In fact, let me give you a more nuanced question. It's this. Was the evidence used to convict her flawed? That is the real question at the very heart of this. And it came out yesterday. So here's the press conference, coverage in the Mirror. They talk about the 7 children who died, and they give innocent explanations for all 7. They're serious global experts, by the way. At the head of it is this guy, Dr Shoo Lee. He's brutal about the NHS. That's one thing. Because basically his thought is, we've got a bad hospital here and it's all very convenient to blame a serial killer who didn't even exist. So he assembled the media. Here's the article. You can see, laid bare the problems. He said the hospital was so bad that if it was in Canada, it would have been shut down. And he also said they used my paper as prosecution evidence, a 1989 academic paper. But he said, actually, I've updated it and it doesn't support the prosecution at all. So that's an absolutely huge point. But this is not the only issue. 2 other things I want to mention to you which have been bubbling away. The first we'll call Evans, and the second I'm going to give the name Texas to, and I'll explain that in a moment. Evans first. Here he is, big prosecution expert witness, Dr Dowie Evans, and he's a neonatal specialist. And he's given a lot of interviews and they've been unwise, some of them. He says he suspected foul play within 10 minutes of reading the first document. Really? That quickly? Isn't that a bit sloppy? Doesn't that sound worrying? That quickly? He also then gave an interview where he said, defensively, in 35 years working as an expert witness, I've only lost 1 case. Experts aren't supposed to think about winning and losing cases. They're supposed to be impartial. And once the focus was on this guy, Dowie Evans, all kinds of other things came up. He gave interviews where he seemed to change his opinion after the trial. He wasn't up to date with modern hospital practices. He retired 15 years ago, and he's accused of doing the case for money because he got, including expenses, maybe as much as £1 million. Baby murders in hospital are so rare. How can anyone claim to be an expert in them? And also, what kind of person is free for a whole year to work on a case like this? Would you take on a builder who said, yeah, I'm free all year? Then we have Texas, the sharpshooter fallacy. And this is where the Royal Statistical Society have got involved. There is the gunman in the Wild West. He peppers the bar with bullets. Then I come in and I say, look at that grouping there. Those 7, what a sharpshooter. What a great shot he is. Actually ignoring all the peppering of the bar. And that's called drawing the target after the bullets have been fired. And in the Letby case, what they say is they found babies where Letby was on duty who died. There were lots of other babies who died where Letby was not on duty, but they only showed us the ones who died. And the rota looked damning, but they were drawing the target after the bullets had been fired. And we're all left, at the very least, Ayesha, here, being worried, aren't we?
Gosh, I mean, I have been mulling this case over so much. I haven't got, by the way, an easy, clear sort of solution or thought on this. The first thing I would say is I'm just instinctively a bit suspicious about this group of people that have come together for all the reasons that you have kind of cited. Brilliant. That was a very good, by the way, really good kind of clear explanation there. I really feel for the families of those babies who died, because they have gone through hell and they have gone through the court process, and it was a very lengthy trial. And Lucy, it was not a low-profile case, it was a high-profile case. Lucy Letby's legal team had every opportunity to put up...
But they may have been very bad. We have to accept the possibility.
They
didn't call any experts.
But... So I feel for them. And in fact, I think some of the families have spoken out about all of this. It's on the front page of the Daily Mail today. I'm also slightly nervous about this Canadian professor who is now just saying this hospital should be shut down. He doesn't really know very much about this hospital. The other thing I just want to say, in Canada right now, 1 in 20 deaths are done through assisted dying. So I'm not quite sure if that doesn't sit well with me. But on the other hand, you know, it's interesting that, you know, the particularly that thing at the end you said about what there isn't with Lucy Letby is there was not evidence where somebody saw her injecting a child, right? It's circumstantial evidence. And as you say, there are these other babies that died when she was not around. So perhaps that merits some further exploration.
You're shaking your head, but the thing is, the rota was so damning. The rota showed 7 dead babies, and she was the only one on shift.
She was the only one.
But the Royal Statistical Society, when they speak out, have to be regarded.
You kind of almost destroyed the guy who was giving evidence for the prosecution there, this jury evidence. However, this guy, Dr Shoo Lee, I'm incredibly suspicious of him. You know, you were having a go at this other guy saying that he was retired. So was Shoo Lee. He's been retired for quite a while. Plus, he doesn't live in this country. He doesn't know the doctors who gave evidence. He doesn't know any details about the case. He didn't work. I would, well, let me say, I would rather listen to the evidence of the 7 doctors who worked alongside her for years and watched her, and the ones who gave evidence up to 15 different times in that trial. And they said, without question, that whenever she was on duty, that's when there were problems. And the minute she was suspended and got off the wards, there were no more deaths or things where babies deteriorated quickly. And you know, there was one guy called Dr Ravi Jaram. You're saying no one saw anything. Yes, he did. This guy was there one night when there was a baby in the cot, and he said he looked into the ward and she was standing there, and he went over and he could see the oxygen levels of this baby plummeting. He said, now, normally an alarm would go off to alert people outside where you'd run in and help the baby. He said that had been disconnected. The tube inside the baby he said there was no question, it had been removed. And there was Letby, as this baby was dying, just standing there, looking, doing nothing. Now, so there was
powerful. That is powerful.
That is very powerful.
Yeah, but it's not proof.
But also, let me say, it has really upset me today to see papers running headlines saying not one single murder was committed. How the hell do they know? Because appeal court judges have been quite clear. Appeal court judges said recently that they ruled that the medical and expert evidence was not the major issue. And they said the circumstantial evidence taken in with the medical evidence and looked at in total by the jury was what she was convicted of.
You obviously have, I've said you're very worried on both. You're more sort of concerned that she has been convicted.
But I resent the fact that high-profile people are taking this on.
It's so exceptional. You never see this.
Also, I want to know,
never see this.
And Carole and I were discussing this before. What is it about this one individual when she has gone through a court case and the appeals have been rejected by the Court of Appeal by 3 judges, high-level judges? What is it about this individual that is making so many high-profile people have sympathy for her? I'm really curious about that.
I think it's just such an unusual case. And also, we had a case, Roy Meadow, you'll remember, paediatrician, who said 2 cot deaths is murder. He said there's no way the statistics...
This is not the same thing.
Hang on. The statistics against a cot death are so high. 2 must be murder. He was wrong. Innocent mums went to jail. You know who blew the whistle on it? The Royal Statistical Society. They said, this guy doesn't understand maths.
But this is 7 experienced consultants who watched Letby over the years.
I hear you. OK. Right. Dio is in Coventry. Hi there.
Hello.
Are you concerned about this conviction?
I am. Yes, correct, yeah. I feel I've heard everything that the ladies have said and yourself. Hello, Jeremy. Let's just put that first out there. Look, appeal process. I'm going to quickly try and blast through this quickly. Appeal process. It is it's appalling sometimes, the appeal process. As a person who's been through it, I kind of know that an appeal process, because of ego and arrogance, the judges who have made a decision, right, about being about turning a case back to a retrial and so forth, because the jury have found the person guilty, are very reluctant because it makes their court look stupid. That's a fact. That happens. Ego and arrogance.
They needed new evidence. Let go on, but quickly, why? Given everything Carole has said in particular, the circumstantial evidence is powerful.
Yes. Wow. Circumstantial evidence. So this is what I feel about when it comes to prosecutions. There was a thing that you said about undisclosed evidence. It would be nice to see undisclosed evidence of what she done, because in a court case, the prosecution are allowed to not use things that will help that lady. Now, that's not justice. Justice, there are the courts. You put everything out there that will help this lady, win the case. We don't want to be putting innocent person behind, and it does happen. You cannot say that innocent people does not go behind closed doors.
All right, Dale, thank you. Loads of calls. Stephen in West Yorkshire, hi.
Hi, Jeremy.
Concerned about it, or thinking a rightful conviction?
Right, listen, your two panellists, the Baroness and Carole, who's always bang on, have got it bang on, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I was interested to see which way Carole's going to go there. So you think that evidence, okay, some of it may have been shot to pieces, but it's strong enough?
No, Jeremy, I was a prison officer for 30 years in high security prisons, lifer prisons, and I can tell you now, one got released in my time I ever worked there, and even every member of staff still thought he was guilty, and he got off. I can't say his name because obviously you think, but he mixed with other prisoners. If I got convicted for something I hadn't done, then there's no way would I mix with them prisoners. I would be probably down the seg, away from them all. I wouldn't mix with them.
Okay, I understand. I mean, I don't know what Lucy Letby's doing in jail, but thank you, Stephen. After the break, we'll take more calls on this. Do you have doubts over Lucy Letby's conviction? We've got absolutely split jury here, that's for sure. Has the new medical evidence, not on the panel and callers, okay? I know you guys have been clear. Now, back to your calls on whether you have doubts about the conviction of Lucy Letby. 0207 862 2222. Jackie's in Cardiff. Hi, Jackie.
Oh, hello. Basically, I phoned... Oh, sorry. Don't know if you can hear me.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, sorry.
Coming through strong.
Yeah, basically, I phoned in because I'm outraged, if I'm honest with you, because this is a young woman's life lying in the balance here. You've got two people on the panel, and I 100% believe that neither of those ladies listened to that gentleman in depth, because I did yesterday. I listened to everything.
Carole was watching on YouTube.
Yeah. And can I just 1 moment, Carole, and can I just say that I started off, right, in the very, very beginning, when I was driving home from work one night and a nurse had done this, I thought, oh, this awful, what's wrong with these people? This something, it's wicked. When the case started, I thought, oh, this should be interesting. What's going on here? There wasn't a scrap of evidence, not a scrap of that. And I'm a layperson. I'm nobody who deals with that. There was just nothing. And I'm just a person who works in a shop.
Jackie, hang on, Carole.
Can I go on to explain something?
Can I say, sorry, Jackie,
can I tell you something
Carole,
important
stop a
to come out
second.
yesterday?
Jackie, sorry, you can't just keep talking. You need to listen to other people. I just want to say one piece of evidence that was brought forward, which we haven't mentioned yet, was the notes she made to herself saying, I hate myself.
Yes, I know about that. And she'd been seeing a psychiatrist or somebody who'd advised her to put it down in paper. So I knew about that. We all knew about that. But what I'm going to say is that gentleman yesterday that you wrote up, not you personally, but Carole wrote off earlier saying that he doesn't practice, he doesn't, that doctor who's a professor, actually at one point yesterday, Carole would have heard him saying he actually made the point of saying, this is a basic, what he was talking about. I train people on a daily basis on this. So that gentleman does work, and he's training...
Let Carole come back in, Jackie, because you've thrown shade.
Two things. You said there wasn't a scrap of evidence. 7 very experienced consultants gave a load of evidence at her trial, and these people had worked with her for 2 years or more. They had watched her at work. They had seen her operate. They knew a lot more than a bloke who lives in Canada who's looking purely at medical evidence. There's much more to this case than that. And if you don't understand that, you cannot write off a whole court case saying there's not a scrap of evidence.
Go on, Jackie.
Clearly there was.
Yeah, well, what evidence, Carole? Tell me the piece of evidence that you thought that convicted that girl.
The evidence from 7 consultants, Jackie, who watched her, who said,
standing around when babies were dying.
Standing around as a baby was dying, looking into the cot and doing nothing. You're not even listening. You're not listening.
I am listening. What he said was, he walked into a room and the girl was stood there. That's quite possible.
No, he said much more than that. Do you want me to tell you what?
Okay, Jackie, thank you. We'll say goodbye. Enjoyed it.
Oh, she's not.
Well, no. I think it's not going to help.
She's decided, and this is the problem. You know, when you have headlines like the papers ran yesterday, not a single murder was committed. People like Jackie believe that. They believe one guy who lives in Canada, who is also retired, and much like the guy who gave evidence in the prosecution.
It's not, do you know what? It's not, that's not the issue. As I said in the graphic, it's not, is she innocent? It's, was the evidence enough to convict her? It's that if the evidence wasn't enough, then she does go free. It's not about, can we be sure she's innocent? That's not how this works. And bits of evidence are flaking now. I mean, the fact that a prosecution paper, which was used, the guy who wrote the paper comes over to this country and says, this is not what my paper said and it's wrong.
Well,
that's incredible.
He has updated that paper since the trial. So he's updated it since.
He suggested it was misused in the trial.
It was used at the time in the form it was.
You can't use a paper from a guy who then says my paper was misused.
Well, you can't use the guy who's changed the paper. That's the problem, surely.
I think one of the other things which is just really interesting about this is I feel like the kind of new curveball that's been thrown into this is this Canadian doctor who's alleging a sort of cover-up at the hospital.
As discussed, yeah, this is the guy we're talking about, yeah.
And I think what's interesting about this is that two things can be true at the same time. We all know that the NHS is incredibly stretched and the NHS does lots of good things, but we also know there's a lot of bad things going on in hospitals right now. So two things could be true. I think it's really dangerous to make that leap and just automatically say it's a big NHS cover. Because if things were going badly wrong in that hospital, she could have been using that as cover.
It's not to do with the cover-up. It's to do with instinctively people wanting to blame somebody other than themselves.
Fewer babies would have died if that Countess of Chester Hospital had listened to the concerns of the doctors,
Can I get some more callers in? Jeffrey in Glamorgan, hi.
Good morning.
What do you want to say, Jeffrey?
Well, I got no doubt she's been through a trial, she's been through appeal, and she's been found guilty. Also, this Dr. Lee, who is paying for all this? Is it the defence team? Well, if it's the defence team, surely he is going to come down on the side of the defence. And where is all this money coming from?
Well, at the moment, I think I think they're all working pro bono, is what they said yesterday. So, in other words, they're without charge. So we're not being billed for this. So that they're international experts who think there's an injustice and they've got stuck into it. Thank you, Jeffrey. Barbara in Devon, what do you think?
Hi, I'm on the fence about Letby, but I want to make a point for the doctors, or for them to answer a question. As a nurse from the 1950s onwards, and the doctors that were doing blood transfusions, one day I asked them how much air had to go into a vein before we killed a patient. And they said it had to be 30 cc's or 30 millilitres as it is now. That is one heck of a big syringe. So how many times would Letby have had to have gone into one little child's vein to have put 30 millilitres of air in?
Yeah,
that's my question.
I don't know if the answer you were given was about very small, weak babies. That's the rider on that. But there's also, by the way, confusion over veins and arteries here, which seems to be another point of contention. But thank you. Yeah, I mean, she would have to have injected babies with air, and she was not seen doing that once. So that's another little thought we could have. Roy in Wolverhampton, hi.
Morning. I just believe that it's wrong if she was solely in charge of 14 babies and these professional surgeons and such like stood and watched her doing it, because they said that they saw her standing by the cot.
Well, no,
and why didn't he do something?
They walked in, usually.
Can I make a point,
Carole,
Roy?
yeah.
Let me just come back to you on that. A lot of these consultants did make complaints to the hospital. They said they had a worry about her, they had an issue with her, that babies seemed to die or be ill with her. So they went many times to see the authorities, and the authorities knocked them back. Not only did they knock them back, they threatened to have them fired. And at one point, they were made to apologise to Letby for daring to suggest she was causing problems. So this is why it was the hospital authorities that were to blame here. They were terrified that this was going to get out, and they were trying to orchestrate a cover-up.
Let's do one more. Rachel in Hertfordshire, hi.
Hello.
Hello. It's impossible to work out what's going on here, isn't it?
I actually have quite strong views.
Go on.
I am a nurse with over 25 years' experience as a senior sister in accident and emergency. and critical care. I've worked in special care baby unit. The points that have convinced me that Lucy Letby is innocent are that the unit had been downgraded.
Rachel, because we've got very little time, just tell us the main headline here.
Sure. The main headline is that she's been made a scapegoat. She's been blamed by the unit, by consultants. The unit was understaffed, underexperienced. I don't believe that she's done it. I believe that the poor girl was put through hell and made an absolute scapegoat.
Thank you very much, Rachel. Thanks for all your calls on this.